a song of sovereignty wherever you may be. Throw your voice upon the wind and let it rain. Join the voices of the ages in ancient melody. It's a song you should not be afraid to sing. It's a song that was written by our father's father's hand. It's the only thing we have at our command. Sing it to the children so that they will understand that their future lies within our trembling hand. We are native to this land. Let us walk hand in hand. We are children of the sea, you and me. We are joined by the spirit of ancestral dignity. Sing a song of sovereignty. As we walk together down that dark and lonely road, let us pray the voice of reason shall prevail. Every step into the future is a step into the past. As we trudge along an old familiar trail, we are coming home to thee, Mother Nation of Hawaii, as we march from every corner of the land. See the rainbow in the sky, our colors flying high. We are coming home to thee, oh Hawaii. We are native to this land. Let us walk hand in hand. We are children of the sea, you and me. We are joined by the spirit of ancestral dignity. Sing a song of sovereignty. Sing a song of sovereignty.
Oh, that's good. Our representatives want to exclude our input. That's.
Yes.
I don't think that's how it's supposed to work, but
No, it's not supposed to work. But OHA basically is now changing into what, changing into a federal government, United States government type body situation. Apparently,
okay. And
now it basically is designed to exclude the community input as well as input, in particular, mind you, from the Hawaiian cultural practitioners, okay? And this is in regards to many Hawaiian historical and sacred sites such as Mauana Kea, heiaus, burial sites, etc. Now, this all stems from the TMT thing, okay? The state of Hawaii, the government state of Hawaii, was really kicked off that they lost out on that money.
Well, and it's interesting. We just saw the news the other week, and there were several of who are Hawaiian watching the news, and they showed the pro TMT Native Hawaiians. Yeah. And I was like, oh, now they're going to let us talk and show our opinions. Where were you guys, the Department of Interior, and show all of our opinions? Now you give the time to those who are just pushing it. And I'll let you continue. I just want to say this because there's going to be divided within the Hawaiian community on certain things. And they're saying it's 50-50. However, I think what's important to remember for those who keep on saying, it's jobs and all this, we, as Hawaiian people, will not allow you to build a Waikiki of telescopes on Mauana Kea. It is not needed for the Hawaiian people, and it's not needed for anybody. For you guys to continue to build and build and build. You got 13 over there. There's some other way you guys can do this. But I think I'm one to put my name on the line that says we don't need another 15, 16 telescope up there. And I don't want a Waikiki of telescopes on Mauna Kea. Bottom line. Take it away, cuz. Mm-hmm. My 2 cents, 3 cents maybe.
Yeah, so what happens is, and now it sets up for the fact that those Mauna Kea protectors and anybody else who of the local community, the Hawaiian community, cultural practitioners included, it sets them up to face federal charges and be arrested. Now it's Mm-hmm. Anyway, the 40-page document from the United States Department of Homeland Security states, among other things, that the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, has decided to change the way U.S. federal activities can be carried out in Hawaii. Do we know these changes? Well, you can look at the 40-page document if you can find them. Anyway, simply put, this means several very important and significant changes are on the way, folks. So first, this partnership between OHA and the United States Department of Homeland Security and FEMA is designed to make OHA the sole source of input to these two federal agencies regarding Hawaiian sacred sites.
No.
Not the Hawaiian cultural practitioners, not the community at large, but OHA.
No.
Okay. And then, secondly, OHA will be given the authority to interface with FEMA and approve FEMA activities throughout Hawaii. No, nobody gets to comment on this. The people don't get to comment. Hawaiian practitioners don't get to comment. Those so-called people that you elect.
Who supported this?
Now,
do you know?
Keep that in mind.
What's the breakdown of the support on the board? Who voted for this?
Who voted for this?
Yeah, for the OHA board to proceed with this and okayed the procedure to go through to make this deal with, I think it's kind of, they're supposed to be securing our homeland, not protecting the United States homeland. The United States can do their own business. Our people need to protect our lands and our country. So who approved this plan to go through?
The Office of Hawaiian Affairs, who are elected officials, remind you, because election is coming up.
Well, it's today's primary, right?
Those decisions in terms of all this were made without community input, mind you. Okay? The community didn't know. Now we're finding out that this is a done deal by OHA, Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Now, these are elected officials. They're elected by everybody. So I think it's time that, that the so-called elected officials that are doing this behind everybody's back and now is looking to exclude the community input. I'm not just talking Kanaka Maoli. I'm talking community, the whole community input, as well as the Hawaiian cultural practitioners. Oh, my gosh. They're becoming more like a federal agency every day. Oh, I think they are now. Anyway, to date, OHA has not released any data on this or even made any of their OHA-U.S. federal agreement discussions public. This is all undercover kind, secret in the closet kind, okay? This is not transparency. This This is an agency, a state agency, OHA, Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Now, significantly, FEMA and OHA will have the right to exempt certain federal activities from the formally required community consultation process. Okay? So, before there used to be a community consultation process. Now there won't be any. Because you know why? The people, the community don't count anymore. It's just what those who are on office, OHA, and the federal government want to do. So now, it's like community to the curb. Out of the picture. We don't need you monopoly anymore because you're not important. Just because we're gonna do what we think is right for you, because you know what? You know, can think on your own. You know, can come up with the right things. You don't know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. We know what's good for you. So we're gonna take that away from you. Your ability to talk about what needs to be done or what should or shouldn't be done in your community, we're gonna take that away from you, and we're gonna do it ourselves because we don't think you're smart enough to do it on your own. That's what it says to me. Holy, next level. But anyway, finally, and most importantly, it opens the door wide to the assertion of U.S. Homeland Security threats and possible subsequent U.S. federal law enforcement actions against Mauna Kea protectors or any other cultural site protection in the future. So anybody who's concerned about their cultural sites, ours included, mind you, burial sites and otherwise, guess what? It sets you up for federal enforcement action. Okay? Federal time now. And this is what OHA did for you. Isn't that nice? They're still not letting you know what's going on. See, now they're taking everything away from the community. The right to know, the right to say, the right to protect. All your rights are being taken. Power already. Under this format, only FEMA and OHA recognized and approved Native Hawaiian organizations. Or, I'll be your best friend. I suck up to you.
Yeah.
I do whatever you like for me to do. And those are the organizations, we can already know who those organizations are, will be able to participate.
But, you know,
as long as you shake your head yes and do whatever OHA tells you to do.
Question. I could see how, when I'm reading the report, too, from Hawaii Free Press, it does look like they're trying to create a back door. But as far as Mauana Kea is state land, so feds wouldn't have any jurisdiction up there anyway.
Yeah, but it's a state agency.
Oh, they can trump
OHA,
that and say...
Well, OHA, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, basically also oversees various different aspects.
Well, then plus, too, without looking at the document, I would imagine that Homeland Security has some trump card that they can play over any state claim, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Of jurisdiction.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that could possibly, you can use that if that's allowed and the state and they can do that, then they can arrest and file federal charges against these Hawaiians who are up there.
Yeah. Now, basically,
basically what we see is that on all levels, and this is the last thing I'll say, because you can see this on all levels on the federal government, they're trying to get the Hawaiians to sign off, or those Hawaiians are to sell out to sign off. So they have, we got you. Okay, you said you would allow this, and I agree with you that this document, how they're going to enforce it is really raises some questions. Yeah, I agree with you.
And see, this is pattern. All this agreement is now patterned after the already existing Mauna Kea development model, whereby the state of Hawaii government, now the state, this is what happened. The state of Hawaii government went to OHA, right? They went to OHA and basically convinced them to change their minds about imposing TMT, and then came to an agreement to work with only OHA and ignore all other stakeholders and interested parties, including cultural practitioners. So the state is the one who instigated it, and OHA went along with the ticket. because they're the yes people. They go, okay, whatever you say, because you know why we state agency, and who pays our ticket? State agency.
And right, because like the article says, under this format, only FEMA and OHA recognized and approved Native Hawaiian organizations would be able to participate. All other community input would be excluded.
Right.
Yeah. If all the trustees voted for that, then all the trustees should not be continuing in OHA. That's my opinion. This is that's not representing the beneficiaries. Hawaiians.
This information came out in the best of times. Okay, and even including I look at our cousin. Okay, Mr. Paul. You know, it's good that the whole state can vote, isn't it? It's good that we look at all the tried and true have been stuck there and possibly got used to, the fame and the glory and the hoopla and the paycheck.
And the reason
I think it's time to relieve them of that paycheck.
And everyone
they relieved us of our right to vote. They relieved us of our input, our voice, our right to know. They're relieving us of that. So we got to relieve them of their. My manao is we got to relieve them of their position.
Well, and the only way to do that, you got to vote under this system. I don't like it. I disagree with it. It is occupation. We all know that. They are denying that. But to vote, people like who are doing this in OHA, the only way to get it is to vote. And enough people to show that this is not right, and you get them out. Until we get our own country back, use your vote. That's the only thing. Otherwise, these kind of people stay in office who make these kind of deals. They're selling us down the tubes.
Exactly.
Selling us down the tubes.
And so we need truth. We need transparency throughout OHA, which has been absent. I mean, they've been absent. They haven't been serving the will of the people. They've been self-serving. And so, this is information you need to know as the public, needs to know in regards to August the 13th and November when it comes to election. So, who do you vote for? Somebody who's going to do Monty Hall's let's make a deal with state and federal that excludes us, the community's right to vote and know? Do you want that? I don't want that. I want somebody who's going to turn around and let us know because it's important to us.
Yep, and
what is important to us? The culture is important to us.
Cousin.
Our sacred sites are
cousin,
important to us.
As always,
what?
We have a phone caller, so the phone caller come in. Okay, and turn your volume on so you can hear me go, cousin.
No, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, just like, I don't like this shit.
I stay heated like you are about wife okay.
Oh, wait. I understand. Okay. Hang on. Hello, caller. You're on the air with Naleo Hawaiian Issue.
Yes, aloha.
Aloha.
I was calling about the elections for OHA trustees, and while we were on the topic, I wanted to mention that there are 3 trustee candidates who are openly supporting deoccupation. And I wanted to make sure that people would be aware of this and vote for them today's primary election.
Sure.
And who are these people?
That would be Keali'i Makekau. He's running for trustee at large. Mililani Trask, she's running from Hawaii Island.
Yay!
And Alapai Hanapi from Molokai. And I have their endorsement in front of me, and what they say is, Huli Oha, make right what is wrong.
Right on, sister.
So, everybody gets to vote. I'm not totally in favor of that. I'm not Kanaka Maoli, but I'm Kanaka E. But being that we do have the vote, it's really important that we get people who will represent the needs and the desires of the Hawaiian people.
Here.
Not only the Hawaiian people, because it is the community as well.
Absolutely.
Now, because everybody is allowed to vote. So OHA not only serves the Hawaiian community, but they still serve the community at large. And when it comes to protecting our sacred sites, to make a deal with federal agencies or state agencies that that eradicates and takes away our right to know what's happening in our in regards to these cultural sites, and our right for input, our community input at large. And this means not only the Kanaka Maoli, but also yours and everybody else's community input who come to learn.
What I find really disturbing is that most people that, anybody that I talk to, they really believe that OHA is representing the Hawaiian people. And, we say, well, the Hawaiians want this, the Hawaiians want that because OHA says so. And we know that to be totally incorrect.
Yep.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's why...
if I can, I'd like to just read what the candidates say here. It says 3 OHA candidates are supporting deoccupation publicly. They're walking the talk. On Palapala, sent out to various entities, they stand kupa'a with Queen Liliuokalani and the Hawaiian Kingdom.
Yay.
And then it says Huli Oha, make right what is wrong. So again, that's Keali'i Makekau, Mililani Trask, and Alapa'i Hanapi.
And we'll see how it goes, because I have seen a difference when everyone votes. It does shift. When we had only Hawaiians voting for it, which all of the people voted to do. And it's sad that one man in a court can disregard the voice of the people, and that was all the people who said no, OHA should be just by Hawaiians. So they changed it by just one man with one court. And now that everyone can vote, I think, like you said, it's important that we vote for the right people. The only thing I'm concerned is I'm seeing where there's a lot of majority here in Hawaii who do not agree with Hawaiian sovereignty, and therefore when they vote for OHA, probably will not vote for people who would normally have gotten in if only Hawaiians voted. Because of their stance of, and I have some good friends too, their stance is America did nothing wrong and we're the best and you guys should be thankful that we're here. Sorry we took all your land, sorry we took your name, that kind of thing. And I have seen it shift, but I think it's important that at least we can't stop because everyone gets a vote, but to put it out like you have on those people who do support and reflect what the majority of the Hawaiian community are saying. So I appreciate that you called in.
Those of us who are, aware need to get out and vote for these candidates. And also, very important, Gary Hooser. He's been supporting us, all along as far as the pesticides and the GMO and all of that. So, just to remind everybody to vote today if you haven't voted already, and to get out and vote for the candidates who, who are the good guys.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and thank you so much for your
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you. Now, again, it is what happens is the Hawaii that you want to see is in your hands. And that's important. The Hawaii you want to see is in your hands. And those of you who came from the mainland, you moved here because you wanted something different other than what you have. One of the things that also is happening is there's also a rise, taxes are going to be rising. Now, what ends up happening? Yeah, they're going to start increasing. Tax increase. Okay, they're going to increase. They're going to increase taxes more. Sorry about that. Okay. Sorry.
I know.
So, yeah, because it says that lawmakers will likely attempt to raise taxes next year to pay for new record spending levels. Yeah, because, they basically, I mean, with EGA, he looked to spend more than he had, like every government. But the Hawaii government is spending more than it ever has before, adjusted for inflation, and the trend is likely to continue. Now, the extra spending will likely mean higher taxes for Hawaii taxpayers, and lawmakers are already making plans to raise the general excise tax, vehicle tax, we're the highest in everywhere, and property taxes, cousin. Oh, yeah. There are many tax increases that are likely to be proposed in the near future. Now, Governor Ige already vowed to ask the legislature to raise taxes next year by $70 million for state transportation infrastructure, which will likely mean higher gas prices and vehicle registration fees.
No, you know
the reason why. What?
Hey, no, and that's why I vote. No. This state, this county, everybody else, they need to tighten their strings just like everybody else tightened their string. You don't have an empty pocket of always taxing us to death. Okay, what you got to do is figure out how to use your money more efficiently. Like those dumb guys in the county who approved that, and it irks me. I don't mind paying taxes, but when you start taking my land and you making stupid thing where you take taxpayers' money and pay $70,000, and this is just one tip of the iceberg. Lepe'u, one 200-foot thing, $70,000. Everybody needs to go down there and see how your county is spending your money, $70,000 on a 200-foot fence that could be put up for less than $1,000. Hey, some boy club over here is making a lot of money off the county doing stupid stuff like that. Just like in the past where you had the Pentagon buying $500 toilet seats. That's why we're going broke. That's why we're being taxed off our okoles. It's because the government, once they get in there, they think they have a free reign. Oh, let's just tax the people some more. We get more money. No, what you need to do, bro, is tighten up your strings and stop spending our money like it grows on trees, because the tax money you're getting is from people working their butts off every day. And all we want is you to spend it properly. This is not for you to go spend like they've caught FEMA and all these guys going to Las Vegas and spending thousands of taxpayers' money for a seminar. Shut up. You read the seminar online and stay in Washington, D.C. and do your job. You don't need to go Las Vegas. Not on taxpayer money. Taxpayers' money is to run the business of the government, not to have a party on the taxpayers' backs, and not to give contracts to your friends where your buddies make thousands of dollars while our people are getting our lands taken away, our taxes up our okole. While you spend it, oh, let's buy a cake for $50,000 when you could have bought it for $29.95 at Costco. That kind of stupid stuff that's happening with our money. That's what gets me angry. And that's why I'm voting today. These knuckleheads we have to change them. They're pissing our money away and then looking at us to drum up more money for them that they can spend foolishly. Case in point, go down to Larson Beach and see this lousy 200-foot fence that the county approved $70,000 to put up. Someone's making money, and it's our money that's being wasted.
Also, I need to let people know that some of the state taxes and the taxes that are going to be raised and you're going to be paying is not necessarily, you think, okay, so what improvement on Kauai are we going to see? Well, hello, what you think is going to go for Kauai? Some of that money is going to go over here because you know why? $12 billion. Rail cost project projections are now almost $12 billion. What? They overshot it for a couple of billion more. And now, who's going to pay? You're going to pay. Are you going to get to ride it? Not unless you come over here to Oahu. And what good is it going to do when you're paying your taxes, hard-earned taxes, to pay for something over here? And that's where some of your money that you're paying, that you're going to get a tax hike on, is going to pay for some of the stupidity that the lawmakers, legislatures, and everybody else who said, let's say, let's do this. It only cost this. No, and it didn't only cost this. And now, tax hike. Because what they're doing is, again, $70 million, raise taxes next year by $70 million for state transportation infrastructure. Oh, yeah? How much is your county going to get?
And how much is going to go for the rail?
Exactly. Major is going to go for the rail. Because you know what? They already overshot their $12 billion already. The projection is $12 billion.
Well, I mean, and you look at that. Hello. You look at that. They had the cars for the rail made in Italy under Hitachi. There was no manufacturer you could have got closer in the United States, at least helping some brothers over here. You had to get it. And what, we don't need Lamborghini rail cars. A good Toyota Corolla, standard, very good, long-running, reliable kind of car would have been fine. Why did we need it specially made in Italy, which obviously, to me, I would think increases the cost rather than if you had it from Detroit or, domestically. That's the kind of thing, when I heard that, it was like, they're like, they're spending our money foolishly, and then they're taxing us. That's why you got to use your vote, people. I'm using mine. Everyone who's involved with this government that's doing these stupid. Next person, see if you can do a better job. Because, like I said, I don't mind paying taxes, but I hate it when you guys just piss it away. That's my hard-earned money that you took, and then you piss it away.
Yeah, that's why the state and counties need to find better ways of managing the public's money.
No kidding. I mean, that's supposed to be number one. They're supposed to be doing that already.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That.
Okay, so we have another phone caller, so we can both take a breath.
Okay.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Got a couple minutes for the top of the hour, but you got the mic. You're on the air. You got something to say?
This is me.
Oh, yep. You're on.
Hey, how's it going, folks?
All right.
Hi.
Hey, I'm just calling in because no matter who you are, Hawaiian, from the islands or from elsewhere, the tax subject you're bringing up is really key. And no matter how you feel about America and where it began and how Native Americans and Hawaiians, etc., the tax principles that this country were founded on were completely different and antithetical to what we have today. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about income tax or the corruption you're referring to or property taxes. This is one thing that the people that set up the Constitution were very wise and cautious about, and that's one of the reasons they separated from England, is because overtaxation. And people need to wake up about this. There is a lot of whistleblowers out there right now that are admitting that they got fired from very high positions in the U.S. government, tax and other departments, because they discovered there's a black budget out there. Not millions, billions of dollars. And when they brought this to light and they were like, hey, we're an accountant here for, housing and urban development or whatever, and there's a whole bunch of money missing. People just told them, listen, you bring that up again and you're going to get fired. So this is not conspiracy theory anymore. This is the kind of thing that we can do something about. If everybody that's upset about taxes, beginning with income tax and the Federal Reserve and all that, these are things that we can do something about in one generation. And it's like you said, it's about voting.
Yep. And, you're interesting part, because a lot of people thought that income tax, well, my mom remembered, and she was born in 1925, there was no income tax. She said there was I forget what she said it was. Income tax didn't come till later.
Right. And they even voted it down the first couple of times. But basically, the IRS and the Federal Reserve were established the same year. The double voodoo, printing somebody else's money instead of printing our own and paying interest on it, and the income tax, the IRS.
Yeah.
And people, this is just history. This isn't conspiracy theory. And then from there, it's been a slow erosion from getting off the gold standard and the gold disappearing from Fort Knox and other countries asking for their money, and the United States, the gold that they were storing here, like Germany asked for their money, and the United States told them they had to wait a couple of years because they didn't have it right now. I mean, you talk to people about this and they think you're crazy. This is just history.
Yeah, it is.
This is history, and these are the kinds of things we need to just get the facts on about. Whatever we agree about, United States and what they've done, the good and the bad, the principles of taxation were not there. As far as I'm concerned, one of the biggest things we could do, forget about fair tax and changing the taxes, that's only a Band-Aid. What we need to do is get on a consumption tax. Because what the consumption tax does is it eliminates the IRS.
Yay!
Think about that. You never have to file taxes again. You could be Bill Gates or somebody on the streets. Nobody knows how much money you make. What you make is your own. And if you want to live high on the hog and buy a boat, you pay the tax on it. If you want to ride a bicycle, you pay the tax on it. You control your own destiny.
Yeah, it seems more fair. But you know what? Stay on the line. Cool call. We'll talk some more. I got to do the top of the hour stuff, legal stuff. We'll get back to you, okay? Well, that plays twice. We're going to go back on there.
I don't have that much activist in me.
Okay, we're back on the air, gang, with Mahilani and a guest caller. And we were talking about taxes and the whole thing, because it's a Hawaiian issue. We're going to have to deal with this anyway. But one thing I liked what you talk about is the naivety of a lot of things. Like, I didn't realize it until much later, and I know a lot of people don't. The Federal Reserve is not part of the U.S. government. It's a private entity.
Right.
But
like one famous quote about that is, it's not federal, it's not a reserve, and it's not a bank.
and why do they have? And then you wonder, then why do they have so much power? Because you look at them, sometimes you're like, oh, they're part of the government and everything. They're not. Yet they control so much. How? Why?
Because they're the ones that took over.
Yep.
You know, and President Wilson was sort of the beginning of the dominoes there.
Exactly.
They were always trying, but there was a lot of resistance. And when President Wilson signed in that and the IRS and all that, it was the beginning of the end. And the conditions we're in right now, we're paying interest on all the dollars we print. Every single dollar we print, we pay for that. And when the two presidents we had that tried to change that, because Kennedy tried to change that, and so did Lincoln.
Pay to who? To the Fed?
Publicly assassinated with a bullet in the head.
No, but who do we pay that to? Who's, if we pay a tax on that, who's it to? The Federal, the Reserve?
Yeah, and the Federal Reserve is is basically a cartel of people that aren't even American. It's international cartel of several banks put together, and they call all the shots. That's who's in charge right now. This isn't about America. This isn't about black and white. It's not even really about rich and poor right now, although it's kind of about that. No, it's about people that want it all. They want to have a society that what I call is techno-feudalism. You know, we used to have feudalism when we worked our way out of it. There was the kings and they owned everything. Now we're going to have techno-feudalism because with the digital factor tied in, they can monitor everything you do no matter where you are in the world.
And like you said, the propaganda against that argument is to say, oh, it is a conspiracy. These guys are just, freaking out. But when you look on the documentation they have, like the World Bank, why now all of a sudden how countries have to sell their part of their country to get out of debt to who? The world banking system? It is, and it puts that conspiracy theory, no longer conspiracy, but it looks like reality theory.
Yeah, and, there was a time when you could lend money to nations and help them, and it was done in an equitable way. Now it's just done in a way that makes no sense at all.
They're getting foreclosed on countries.
I was going through 100 pages of documents. It was the first house I had ever bought. And I have really good radar for problems. I may not know all the facts, but as soon as I see a problem, something in signing goes, this isn't right. And I was reading through all this stuff and pages after pages and signing them, and I saw this one little line that said, at any time we can sell your mortgage to somebody else. And I looked at the real estate agent who was there, and I go, I don't have time to read all this, but does this mean what I say, that they could sell this without my permission to somebody else, and then I've got somebody else to deal with and whatever rules and regulations they put on it? And he goes, yeah. He goes, but don't worry about it.
Just sign here, sir.
Oh, man, this is like really bad.
Don't read that part, sir. Just sign it.
A few years later, we got into the mortgage crunch, about 3 years later.
Yep. It'd be like Trump. It's good. Don't worry. Trust me. It's great. Just sign it.
It's the way it's done. You really to buck that system, you can't deal with that paperwork. You got to go back to the beginning. And the number one thing again for me to restate it is get rid of the IRS. Forget about fair tax. Forget about lowering it. Get rid of it and have people pay. It's a large amount. For full disclosure, the number that I've heard is you're going to have to pay 24% on everything you buy in order to make that work. But the other side of that is that in that same model that they have for taxes, for what they call consumption tax, everybody gets the full amount of tax back at the end of the year that you would pay for survival needs. So I think it's like $2,400 they figured out is what each person would pay for food and rent, etc. So if you're Bill Gates or a street person, you're going to get a check at the end of the year for $2,400 because that's what you paid on the survival stuff. So you're not expected to pay that. That's the way they protect the poor, the people that don't have that much money. But the bottom line is I would much rather live that way. I will be really cautious about what I buy. People will make things that last. There will be no IRS to tell anybody they have to file. People that are like super wealthy aren't going to be able to avoid taxes. And even criminals will no longer be able to avoid taxes because everything they buy, they have to pay the tax.
And it does lead back to because socialism, I mean, you try to take care of everybody. When I talked to this elderly Canadian lady, I had to ask her. She was like 80. She was at a concert down here. I just had to ask her about the health system. And she looked at me and said, you guys are being bamboozled down here. Saying that, we have to wait all this for this and it's not good. He said, we love it. And I'm 80 years old. He said, you guys are being fed propaganda down here in the United States because we love it in Canada. Now, this was one lady speaking. But like you said, it is a hard sell for some people when you go, hey, you're going to pay 24%. But when you look at across the board, if you pay high taxes, but then you're not going to worry that if you go to the hospital, I'm going to lose my house, my car, and everything I lived for. There's a trade-off there. And I would agree with you. I wouldn't mind paying more taxes if, free medical. I wouldn't mind that because then you wouldn't have to worry, oh, God, if I get sick and I run up a bill, then I have to mortgage my house. And on all that, it's taken care of. And I know that's not either a perfect system. Anything humans come up with is not perfect. But when we tweak it and you see some evidence like in some other places that do pay high taxes, but the people are not losing their houses because of medical bills going up, and it's a trade-off. And I think that's one, and I heard you say that, and I would be willing to do it. Higher taxes for a little bit more, less stress on some of the other things that bite everybody, and eventually those who lose their houses because of medical bills and other things. But it is a hard sell. Whenever you talk about high taxes, people hesitate.
It's true, but the thing to remember about consumption tax is it's not necessarily higher. You only pay taxes for what you buy. In other words, you never have to pay income tax again. And the thing about it that's going to be tricky is that once you get rid of the federal income tax, you still have the state income tax on your back and property taxes. So the battle's not won until you get all the states to become like Texas and Florida, no state tax. And the best way I could find to work with property taxes is you pay property taxes once when you buy the house, and as long as you don't sell the house, you never pay property taxes again.
And I agree with that, and that's what's lacking in this system. They tax you on sales marketing value. But if I'm not going to sell it, then that doesn't affect me, but you keep on increasing my taxes. So I agree with you on that point. And I do feel that there has to be some tweaking because the way it's working right now, it is so complicated. I had to hire, and I'm not a really rich man, I had to hire a tax person to just for my small business, just so that the thing just every little item C that is deducted from Z, unless you had a item E that didn't, doesn't go with item H. I mean, got so complicated. I just had to hire somebody. Please, can you take this tax code system that I'm getting screwed on and just help me out so I can survive? Because I could not figure the damn thing out. I didn't have the time to.
I want people that get scared right away and they go, oh, my God, if I buy a car, I got to pay 24%. I want them to just investigate this and look at what their life will be like if they don't get a tax bill for everything. If they stop getting, an IRS form that they have to fill out every year. If they don't have, and if we get to the point where we don't have state taxes as well, then the battle's over, because that's going to be more difficult later to get all the states to cooperate, especially with the property tax.
And having the masses just get out of this mind game that, oh, this is the only way it can be, and it's been this way all the time, so it must be the only way, to get out of that mindset too, because it's been ingrained on us that IRS, this is the way it's supposed to be, and you have to pay the taxes every year. People don't realize that it was part of a law that got IRS established, and just like any other law, it could be taken out, tweaked, and do whatever. But I agree with you. Something has to be done, because the way it is now is just too complicated, and too many people are getting screwed, and they're wasting our money.
Yeah, so again, people need to look at it, because even if they agree that taxes are killing them, which a lot of people are, they're afraid of the idea of 24% on everything they pay.
Agreed.
That's the part that scares people. I've talked to people about this, and the first thing they say to me is, oh, that's only good for rich people. Rich people will never be able to get tax breaks on things like they do right now. They buy a boat for $1 million, they're going to pay $240,000 or $24,000, on taxes for that boat, and it's going to go right to the government. And there's no way to avoid that, because it's part of purchasing the item. It puts the responsibility on you to budget your life and how you want to live. And I don't know, man. For me, the freedom that would give me to know that I control my own destiny with my finances, and whatever I make is mine, and whatever I choose to buy, I got to pay for it as part of, living in whatever country I live in.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Is there like a website, or is there, someone that people can look up that goes more in depth with this kind of, tax program? Or,
well,
at least
I don't want to be repeating myself and sound like I'm crazy, so I'll let you guys run with just that suggestion. Consumer tax, or also called fair tax. Those are the two ways they refer to it. Have people look it up.
Okay.
And get past, the initial hit of, oh my God, 24%, and just look at what it says and what the, the consequences are. So appreciate the program, and aloha, folks.
Aloha, mahalo for the information.
All right.
Yes, aloha.
Interesting. Because we know
Yes.
Everybody got to pay taxes. Well, not everybody, but hey, another phone caller. We're going to put him right on. Hello, caller. You're on there with Naukana and Mahelani Silva on Leo Hawaiian Issues. You're up. Hello? You're on the air? Okay, bad connection. So call us back. So did you vote today already, cuz?
Did what?
Did you vote already today?
No, I didn't get a chance to. I'm going to go afterwards.
Yeah, me too. I got to go.
Yeah, because I just look at, especially now that I know in terms of OHA.
Yeah.
If you're in OHA, you're out.
Okay. Well, there was a caller who didn't want to go on air and thought that, and I'm just passing this along, thought that when the other caller was backing up some people who are pro deoccupation, she wanted to mention that Dana Huna was left out, and she felt that Dana Huna should have been included. And we'll go back to the phone caller. Hello, you're on air with Naukana and Mahelani Silva on Naleo Hawaiian Issues.
Yes. Yeah, no, I enjoy your program.
Mahalo.
And your discussion is much needed in this world. And the previous gentleman who was on the air, he's right on about his discussion about the IRS and the Federal Reserve, and also the fair tax. The problem is, excuse my connection here, but the problem is the media. The same people who own and control the banks they own and control the media, and so the truth doesn't get out, and of course in the political campaigns, you buy your way into office, and of course we have the best government money can buy. But historically, there's been a struggle since the inception of our country between, originally it was called the Jeffersonians versus the Hamiltonians, and Thomas Jefferson represented the small independent farmer, property owner, and craftsman, tradesman. And Alexander Hamilton, he was for a economy not based on the small independent farmer, but on the banks, centralized banks and trade. And so you can look it up in history, the Hamiltonians and Jeffersonians. So there's been this struggle all along, and of course the bankers they've through time have gradually got the upper hand, and then in their secret meeting at Jekyll Island in 1913, they devised the Federal Reserve, and then they hammered it through Congress, who didn't even know what it was. But it's just basically Wall Street taking total control of the economy from the inside, and it's just an arm of Wall Street and the New York bankers. And of course, as the previous gentleman indicated, they're all associated with all the international bankers, the Rothschilds and various other people. But the problem with having a corporate-owned media is huge, because half the country are people who are unfortunately asleep, physically, mentally, spiritually, intellectually, and they're just droids. and they're just like, many of them are one paycheck away from being on the street.
Yep.
And they live in fear, and they get all these fear-based messages in the media, and it doesn't matter if you're Democratic or Republican, and who's Hillary going to appoint from Monsanto to key positions in her cabinet, or in the USDA or the FDA.
Right.
And so it's the best hope is to work on the local level, because then at least we have a chance to elect the right people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so difficult to get your message across, to the whole country on the mass media, because it's not going to get reported.
Yep, and we Hawaiians have seen that even with our...
Yeah, of course, yeah.
30,000 Hawaiians walked down Waikiki and not a single word on CNN, So I understand, and I agree with you. And again, it sounds conspiracy theory-ish, but when you look at the facts and history that's coming out, it really, the facts kind of lead to that it's a reality that we're going to have to face, and how these things were set up and what they control. Especially now when I'm concerned, no country had to sell, like Greece, had to sell their port because they owed money to who? To what? What financial institution did this country owe to that now the country has to get foreclosed on? They have to sell their port. That's what kind of, and I mean, everyone thinks about this like, wait a minute, who is that? And how is that happening? And I think that's what leads to, and like I told the other gentleman, but they want this discussion to be put in that conspiracy theory category, so people go, oh no, that's nut stuff, that's Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, they're just lunatics.
Yeah, right. You look at the facts.
Yeah,
questions are being raised. For me, I find it fascinating, but also kind of like the back of your hair, kind of like, God, some of this stuff is actually real, what they're doing. And I agree with you, the facts on how the Federal Reserve was set up and how it's been played. I agree with you. There's a small group of people who control the financials on this planet Earth, and I don't think that's not right. I mean, just standard thing, but...
No, but anyways, I mean, the greatest hope is working together in the towns and the villages, of people getting together their own local economy and meeting on a regular basis, and because the system, everything's falling apart. It's all gonna come crashing down.
I gotta agree with you. I got some. It just doesn't look good.
No, of course. It's like, and then the insanity of our government, like in Honolulu, this rail project. Fine. If they built it in 1935, it would have been an intelligent thing to do.
Now you're talking billions.
But it's folks, you're too late.
Yeah, and we're not talking Carl Sagan billions of stars. You're talking billions of dollars of taxpayers' money. I mean, and it just doesn't look good.
No, it's like, okay, let's devote that to electric buses and bicycle freeways,
Do you remember, I don't know if you were from the mainland, I grew up in San Francisco, and I remember we had the electric cars. They ran on, and I was reading some history. They're saying that was the most efficient way of when they converted over to gasoline. Some of the historians saying it was a major mistake. It was a major. We should have kept the electric cars.
Well, you know how that happened.
That ran on
General
cables.
Motors bought out all the trolley operations in all the urban areas, and they dismantled them.
Yeah, because they didn't need gas. There was no exhaust.
Yeah.
I remember.
I'm from Massachusetts, and in Boston, we still have trolley cars. You could go, in the old days, you could go from Boston to New York.
Wow.
Switching all the way,
Yep. So I agree. We some of the old ways were the best ways, and I think, like even we brought up before the part about injection wells, and my cousin was, before she passed, was saying how, and I didn't realize this, our sewage is dumped a mile off our shores. We're pissing in our own waters.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's just, it's just there's so much insanity. Just the flush toilet alone.
Exactly.
But anyway, so I mean, I lived on a farm on the Big Island for 25 years, and we composted our own poo-poo, you know, and no problem. I use it in my garden. You know, I'm a expert composter, former organic farmer, and I didn't have any problem. But why pay all this freaking expensive money for all this centralized stuff? To and the thing of it is, like, this rail project in Honolulu, their conundrum right now is they got to, like, dig up all these buried electric lines and all these pipes and things, and it's an impossible task, and the other thing is all these things, all these like millions of miles of buried utilities, water pipes, sewage pipes, gas lines, they're all rusting and rotting. And the country does not have the money or the will to replace it all.
Well, we do have the money. It's just going to other people's pockets.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have all these people on the inside and out who are fleecing us. Yep. And I know time, and then of course the military. That deal.
And I know we're bringing a lot of things up, but it's because it all comes back to that. A lot of things, it just seems like like fracking. They're going into the crust of the earth and they're breaking it apart. It just doesn't sound good. I don't care what your paperwork says. It's like that doesn't sound good.
No, it's like out of a science fiction horror movie. It's like an R. Crumb cartoon of the earth.
Yeah,
where it's all desolated and destroyed, and there's all like slag heaps everywhere, and the waters are polluted, and then there's these people who look terribly unhealthy, who are barely standing, and that's where it's going, but we have to decentralize. I'm a decentralist. We have to get back to staying at home, getting out of. We have to evolve away from the automobile. That's one of the ways. See, the automobile, I'm kind of a eclectic historian of media and history, and see, the automobile historically was and is the most destructive invention to the social fabric. When you can just get in this thing and go anywhere, anytime, it just destroyed the social fabric, and then it's getting your license is the coming of age. That's how you become an adult in this culture, not the traditional ways of initiation into adulthood that Hawaiian people had and tribal people used to have and still have in a few places, But anyways, there is a book called about the IMF and the World Bank, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I have it in my library, but it's a guy who was paid to go to these countries and talk them into putting in their expensive deep water ports, huge dams, pipelines, and drilling for oil in Ecuador, and then the people, and then there were people who were chosen by their governments in these countries like Panama, great righteous people who were elected, and we assassinated them to get our stooges in there. Sandy Combs, who's running for legislature seat from Kauai, she's also a decentralist, and that's you see, because if you look at history, the whole course of human evolution, it's been the struggle between the centralized nation-state and empires versus the peaceful, settled agrarian people who live on the land, no bother anybody, and work out their own problems themselves, take care of themselves, and live healthy and natural. And this we don't, this world we have, this techno insanity, it's not like in the words of Voltaire in Candide, the best of all possible worlds. Having automobiles as the basis of reality is not the best way to go.
Well, you quoted Voltaire. You must have also heard of Rousseau.
What's that?
Rousseau, the philosopher, French philosopher Rousseau, and his philosophy of the noble savage, that sometimes he believed that when you become civilized, you become chained within that civilization, and the noble savage, the one who's just out there hunting, gathering, he is really the true free man.
That was Rousseau's book was a landmark book that influenced a lot of people.
Yeah, I really liked his philosophy, and it's true. Sometimes,
but anyways, in Kilauea, a thing to support is the Ag Park, and which is being guided by the Aloha Spirit. And great things can happen at the Kilauea Ag Park. So if you live in Kilauea, you can come out 3 days a week and volunteer and get some free vegetables. So we have to create our own economic system at home. That's basically and stop going to the store.
Well, so thank you so much for calling in and sharing your
thank you for listening. I hope I shed a little light on things, and keep up the aloha Aina spirit. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Yeah.
Interesting, cousin. Then right now we're at the bottom of the hour. Let me do the legal stuff, and we'll get right back at you. This is KKCR Honolulu, KQ8 Kilauea. This is Naleo Hawaiian Issues, and let's see what's happening with the Ocean Safety Report today.
Aloha, I'm Pat Durkin with your KKCR Beach and Ocean Safety Tip for today. The safest places to swim are at beaches with lifeguards. On Kauai, we have 7 lifeguard stations. On the North Shore, they are located at Hai'ana Beach Park and the Honolulu Pavilion. On the east side, lifeguards are at Kealia Beach Park and Lidgate Park. South to west side locations are Poipu Beach Park, Salt Pond Park, and Kekaha Beach Park. These stations are staffed 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Always check in with lifeguards no matter where you plan to swim. Conditions can change rapidly. For more information about today's ocean conditions on Kauai, visit KauaiExplorer.com. With today's Beach and Ocean Safety Tip, I'm Pat Durkin for KKCR Radio. Have fun and be safe.
And right now there are no official warnings around the islands. No significant surf, roughest at east-facing shores with some surf wrapping north and south. So currently no warnings. Surf is about 1 to 3 all over the island except in Kealia and Lidgate. That's about 3 to 5 to 2 to 4. So, but wherever you go, just be careful. Yeah, I know. Look good. You like jump in the ocean, but sometimes the ocean will take you places you don't want to go. Okay, so play it safe. Go where people are. Okay, if you go to somewhere and there's no people in the water, hello. There's a reason probably that no one's over there. No, take that chance. Okay, if you do, sometimes you end up in the newspaper. Okay, just play it safe. Go where people are, so you're safe and happy. Right, cuz?
Right.
All right. Oh, and then we have Anthony. We have Anthony on the phone too.
Yay!
Okay, I got you on, Anthony.
How's everybody doing?
All righty.
Everybody, I'm listening to you folks. I listen to you folks, and I love what I hear. But the only thing is that everything begins with doing one thing and one thing only, and that's the thing that we all should be doing today, and that's voting.
Yep.
If you want to change anything, you have to get out and vote.
Yep.
And us Hawaiians, we're the poorest one to vote, and we should be the ones that want to vote. Because everything we can make a change locally when we get out and vote. When we get out and vote, and what we should look for in our politicians is politicians who will back up a minimum wage of $15 an hour. Those people who don't back a minimum wage of $15 an hour, we should take a serious look at. Kagawa, for instance, he came on and he said, when we pushed it at the county council, only a resolution so that we would look at it. He brought it down to $12.50 an hour. And we said, okay, we can live with that, as long as we can get this resolution passed. And the minute the voting came out, he said no. And guess who followed suit with him? Kanashiro followed suit with him. And then Joanne Yukimura says, my family cannot support somebody who works for $15 an hour. Excuse me, Miss Yukimura. Do you actually have people who are only family members that work for $15 an hour? Or maybe you should introduce them to yourself so you can find out how they live on $15 an hour. Or are they surviving on $15 an hour? We use this as a benchmark. And then Raposo was the other person that came in, and with his assistance, we killed him. And who did we wind up with? Gary Hooser, Mason Chalk, and Kipukai Kuali'i. Kipukai, we got to kind of look at him and say, oh, yeah, close the eye a little bit, hold your nose, and then shut the ear, and then we vote for him. But he needs to know that we as a group can have a direct effect on elections. And when he finds that out, he will do the things that we want him to do. But in order to do it, we got to get out and vote. If you don't vote this time, November 4th, we can vote again. And you have to think about who you want to vote for. People, you got to think about this. All of you want fair taxes. You want to change the things that come about. Hey, get off your butt or vote. And don't be grumbling if you don't vote. That's what my father says. No grumble, no vote. And I got a good one for you, Randy. Oh, Randy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I drive taxi, South Shore, for the boat. And I picked up this lady. They're from Genoa, Italy. And guess who's over there putting up a 6-foot wall?
Are you kidding?
Yes. She said it. I said, oh, and she said, and do you know Zuckerberg? I said, oh, yeah, the big Zuckerberg bird we have over here. He's putting up a 6-foot. He's doing the same thing in Italy, Genoa, Italy.
No kidding.
Yeah, so when we were thinking, or maybe it's not him, it's his people behind him. It's him. They're using his money, and he's saying it's okay to do that. They're doing it in Italy, and she says he's trying to do that in several places.
San Francisco?
Not only Italy, but several places. He's going all over the place trying to get this done. So he's taking his money that we use for his Facebook. It's Facebook, right?
Yep.
And then he's taking that money and he's making exclusive places for people of his kind to live. Isn't that a kick in the head? And here we was. We thought this was a nice college kid who had everybody's good intent, everybody's in his good relationship. But no, he wants to have the world where they're going to have gated communities all over the world. So that if you're with him, you can fly from one gated community to another gated community, and we don't have to look at the poor white people, poor brown people, or poor black people. How's that?
How's that?
That's what that lady said. I got her name and everything. But on top of everything else, she said the same thing. We got to get out and vote. Hey, this is sort of international type of thing. Because she's saying on a local basis, they know they can, and they're blocking him out. They actually have the power to block him out. They've gotten control of the council or whoever it is, and they said they're blocking him out. So we can do that here. If they're doing all the way halfway around the world, we can do that here. But we have to be in charge. In order to be in charge, we must vote. Every Hawaiian, every white person, every black person, we must vote. And we must vote knowing what we want. And what I tell you is that look at the minimum wage of $15 an hour. Because all those people who support $15 an hour, like Gary Hooser, will support some type of getting rid of all spraying of herbicides that they have. He will support GMO, labeling of GMO. He will support subsistence living that we want to do so that we can all take care of ourselves. And he wants to basically do those things that we feel are important for us as, what was that you said? The wild one or the noble savage. That's what he's supporting, and that's what we have to take a look at. Noble savage don't pay taxes. Noble savage hunts on his own. Noble savage doesn't use herbicides on his plant. So how do you think about that one all the way over there in Italy?
I was reading an article that our friends from Atlanta sent, Bob Sitkoff, and it did show that this thing about the wall in Pila, and he did taper it off. He's not doing the wall, extending it. He tapered it off, which is the thing. I still don't like the 6-foot wall thing, but it looks like he does this wherever he goes. He buys big tracts of land, puts up a border.
He does that.
And everyone...
all these little white howlies to themselves, all these rich howlies. And that aggravates me to no end. And then they squawk when we tell them, oh, we want something. They say, oh, but you're infringing upon me and my view plane. Hey, your view plane, I agree with you. But you know something? I didn't put up the wall. And how come only now you want to complain about that when there are a dozen things that was before that? Yeah. We need to take care of everything. First thing we do, here I go again, we need to vote.
Yep.
We need to block vote.
Yep, I agree
Those
with you on that.
people who know back up $15 an hour minimum wage are not with us. 2 people making $15 an hour will bring in about $65,000 a year. And if you do the math on that, it's 15 times 2080, because that's how many hours you work in 1 year. That's $31,000 times 2. That's $62,000 a year. But if you have to multiply that, that guy was talking about 76% taxes. It's actually 74% in taxes we pay right now. So if you multiply that times 0.74, you would get $46,000. Even for a family of 4 living on $46,000, you're kind of living month to month, because our rent is what? $1,500 a month. Our food is what? $30 a day. $30 a day is $30 times 360. That is $10,800 a year. So of that $42,000, you take away $10,000. You're only left with $30,000 for your rent and other things that you need. Food, the basic necessities of life, they cost money. And in order for us as a group of people to start to get ahead, we need $15 an hour. And if we follow what Sonoy Ahuna says, she says it should be $22.50 an hour.
Wait, I was just curious.
That's another person I'm voting for.
Ahuna.
Ahuna.
The only,
Sonoy?
yeah, the only,
Ahuna, yeah.
The only question the only question I have is that she was a planner for the city I know. Of Honolulu.
Yeah.
And you look at Honolulu. So, and you look at Puhi right now.
Yeah.
Puhi don't look like Hawaii no more.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like
mainland over, concreted over, and everything else over.
But again, I just stating what I saw there, that she was a planner. I don't know anything else about her, so.
Oh, no.
I was just
I saw
ooh.
I saw that too, but right now, coaching, we're not getting too much from him. And his giving us this, I'm going to let you folks be in charge of all the historical sites. Hey, basically, all you're going to do is give us a historical site. We're going to do it for free, and the state's going to keep the money. You know, that's the way it is. And what is he going to do with that extra money that he gets into his pocket? He's going to give it to Grove Farm. He's going to give it to the big corporations on Oahu. He's not going to give it back to us. And even if we apply, we'll take care of the heiau in Poipu. Give us some money. You're going to tell us, no, you folks should be taking care of that as a non-profit. These are things that, and then when Kochi gave some money to KVMH, he gave about $4 million to take care of women who had children, or prenatal and after they're born. Okay. But the problem with that $4 million, it didn't go to the west side. It went from people from Kapa'a to Lihue. Hey, excuse me, do you see any problem with that? And that comes from Kochi. He put that out. But you know something? He's not giving us anything on the west side. And you think if he doesn't give us anything from the west side, and he born and raised on the west side, he going to give anybody else anything? It comes to the fact, Kochi doesn't. So I'm going to hold my nose, shut one eye, no listen to the other ear, and I'm going to vote for her. A change, whatever it is. And her husband is the one that works for OHA. Stay yet. We got to make a change.
Oh, that's the husband. Dan is the husband.
People. What's that?
Dan Ahuna is the husband.
Yeah. And we got to threaten these people. You have to threaten them with voting. I once read someplace where it says, if voting could change anything, they would make it illegal. And isn't that what they're doing in the South? Making all these things where it makes it harder to vote? You got to register to vote. You only can vote less time to vote. There's no more coming in on Saturday and Sundays to vote. Aren't they trying to take that away from us? You see that. I see that already. In the future, we're not going to be able to vote. The council going to come in and do whatever they want, and then they're going to stay in forever and ever. How long has Joanne Yukimura been in the county council? Do you folks realize that when she retires, she will take home $10,000 a month? Listen to me.
What?
She works part-time. She's considered a full-time employee, and she's been at this job for 20 years. So she is the one that's going to make $10,000 a month just by retiring from the county council. Where the hell is that? And then she gets good medical, too. She gets the best medical. So you folks got to think about all these things. Why are they go from a part-time and you get full-time privileges? Where in the county, where in the world do we have anything like that? So we've got to get out and vote. We have to threaten these people by showing them that we vote and that our vote counts. Yes, they're going to try and negate our vote by giving us less chance to vote, and they're going to try and negate our vote by making it harder to vote. But we have to stand up and vote. If we don't vote, we're going to lose, and we're going to lose more than we put in.
I agree. You got to vote.
Yep. Okay. And then, Mahelani, you did that thing on herbicides, and you did a report because I was working. Would you go through that again, please?
Do the thing when?
Last week about herbicides. There were some documents you said you could read and everything else because the last time they
you
did
want me to send it to you?
Study.
Do you want me to send it to you?
Yeah.
I can send it to you to the email.
Email address, huh?
Yeah, I got your email.
Do that. That would be good.
Yeah.
Because last week's one was really important, but I had to go work again. I spend more time working than anything else.
Yeah,
okay, catch you guys later. I got to go back work.
Huh? You got to go back work?
Yes, I'm working right now. My boss calling me. Bye.
Oh, he had to go back to work. Oh, well.
Oh, it's nice to hear Anthony and all the callers' opinions and their comments. I like talking to people. That's why you learn. And we'll have another. We have another caller on air who always take priority. You're on the air, caller, with Naukana and Mahelani Silva. Naleo Hawaiian Issues. What you got to say? What? No.
Well, don't worry, people. There are, everything will be okay when humanity completely destroys itself.
How you doing?
It's all in God's plan. Obviously God is, no matter what, God is in charge, and it looks like there's going to be a re-evolution of the planet or some other life, because how can, in any realistic perspective, how can you not think that we're not going to destroy ourselves? Because we're our own worst enemy, and that's what stories are made of. That's why every religious text, even if it's tribal, the core of all religious theology is, we're gonna destroy ourselves, and then we get these myths. Excuse me, Myla. Excuse me, sir. Then we create mythology. We humans write stories about saviors like Jesus Christ. Anybody. Oh, the gods. The gods are going to save us because from the minute mankind learned how to make fire, we were doomed to destroy ourselves. and that's the core of almost of like Greek mythology and stuff. Is that once man learned how to create fire, it symbolized our end, and this is a positive thing. This isn't necessarily a negative thing to think. You know what? We're all in God's hands. Anyways, we're all, if the humans completely destroy and kill one another, which they likely will, then that's okay. And maybe that's the end of the means by the end. Maybe that's what's necessary for us all to transcend and go on to the next, whatever it is that's going to happen to us. Because I hate to say it, but it sure looks like our savior. It's going to be like global warming and slash a never-ending war and poverty and death by disease and famine and everything. And basically, we all have to decide that as adults, basically, we all have to be willing to die for the cause, because we're going to die anyway. So let's spread as much love and kindness and goodwill as you can, but we're not going to be able to save the earth. We'll give a valiant try. We'll vote. We'll do our civic duty. We'll be kind to our neighbor and not kick our dog. Are you still listening to me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, we'll do all these wonderful aesthetic things that are in let's say the Hawaiian culture or just my own personal culture. As a human being, I'll try to strive to be nice and ask for forgiveness and feel guilty when I do bad stuff and wish I could recycle more and do everything I can, including vote. But in my heart of hearts, I know that God. This is the way I believe that God's going to take care of me when I die. However that happens, by just if I get run over in the street by a car, if I have a heart attack, if I worry myself to death, I'm going to die. And so I've made my peace with my last, couple decades that I have. But if I die in a world that has basically kills itself, because, some people go, well, yeah, we only got 30, 40, 50, 100. You can't imagine what the world will be like in 200 years. It won't, the only thing that'll outlive us, are the cockroaches. Right? Anyways, thanks for listening to me. You're so generous and kind to me both. You know what I mean? I'm glad I voted. I also wanted to say I'm glad I voted for Fern. Hello?
For what?
I'm glad I voted for Fern.
Ah.
Fern, what's her last name? Wisen. What do you know? What Fern? She's running for District 14.
No, I don't.
You don't know Fern? She was totally involved with Fern Rosenthal. Well. You know who knows Fern really good is Kealani and her friend on the other Hawaiian show on Wednesday.
Yeah, we know Fern. We know her from Tahiti Nui too.
Yeah, I'm voting
Smart
for
girl.
Fern. I think Fern, I've met her, I think she's going to be good for Hawaii. I hope she wins. That's one of the most important things that was in my mind when I filled in my ballot. As I go, because, here's someone new. Here's someone ecologically minded, someone who's very smart and bright and really, really knows how bad pesticides are and GMOs for Hawaii, and that's really why I voted for Fern. And other than, thanks again, because I live one day at a time. We all need it I'm making it through the day, and part of every Saturday is one of the things I really look forward to is listening to you guys talk. And that's why I'm going to shut up right now. You guys are such good. You're a team. You're a great team. You know what I mean? I'd hire you to run my company.
Anyways. What? I got to say this. When you said it's left up, and what they say, the first time was the flood, right? 40 days and 40 nights.
40 days and 40
nights.
They
said the next time it's going to be fire. Well, the problem is we're sitting in the South Pacific, surrounded by something called the Ring of Fire.
Exactly.
It's a major area in the basin of Pacific Ocean where a large number of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions occur, right? So here we are sitting, and if you look at the ongoing, they have satellite pictures, and if you look at the Ring of Fire, it looks like a ruby red tiara, okay?
Yeah, totally.
The
same pictures when they do these outer space visions of the jet stream, and how they measure the hot and cold of global warming. It's a shocker. You go, my God, look at that. It's like this monster ready to eat up the planet. But, you said something about, I'm glad you mentioned that, Mrs. Silva, about the Ring of Fire in Hawaii. Is for all we know, Hawaii, this highest volcano in the world, is this pinnacle of, salvation for the planet. Because when we die, life goes on. And if we have to die in some volcanic, catastrophe that kills everything on the planet, don't worry, folks, we're going to be reborn. That's the Buddhist theology, too, which I'm akin to. I affiliate with that kind of mentor, it's going to be okay. Everything, God is in charge. He's going to take care of us. It's like paradise will always be able to reestablish itself in the eons of time. What to God, what's another 10 trillion, billion, zillion years? It's a drop in the bucket. And if we got here now, today, even if it's evolved into some of this obscure, everybody's at each other's throats scenario, where, plastic is going to outlive us all, hey, it'll be okay, everything's going to be okay, and have a nice day. And thanks again for everything. Bye.
Aloha no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, because I'm going to go out with this. Do you remember Pat Paulson?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to play a little skit for him, as the political thing is. But always nice to talk to you. And I got the phone number for you. Sorry I didn't give it to you before, but we'll talk to you after the show. Okay, Kaz?
Okay, Kaz.
All right, aloha no. I'm going to end up with a little humor with your Nale Hawaiian issues. A former presidential candidate, Pat Paulson, and his take.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our reunion show, former presidential candidate Patrick Layton Paulson.
I'm very excited to be here. 20-year reunion show with my close personal friends Tom and Dave Smothers. I'd like to talk about the challenges we faced in this election year. As I travel this great land, I hear complaints about auto workers being laid off, cheap imports, steel mills closing, the garment industry dead, foreclosures of farms, the homeless, pollution, problems of the aged, the threat of AIDS, child abuse, Middle East, Nicaragua, etc., etc. I hear these rumblings of discontent everywhere I go, and you know what I think? I think America ought to just shut up. I'm sick of this bitching and moaning. So shut up, America. If you don't like what's going on, get off of your butts and find somebody to take care of these problems. Look at the men you have running now. Men who say they have a new vision, a new idea. On the Republican side, George Bush. Now here's a man who was envoy to China, chairman of the Republican Party, an ambassador, a congressman, head of the CIA, vice president. Man cannot hold a job. George Bush is kind of like Jerry Ford without the pizzazz. And Dole, do you want a pineapple for president? Pat Robertson, God told him to run, which proves one thing. God's got a great sense of humor. Pat doesn't have a prayer. On the Democratic side, we have Gary Hart back in the race. Now, Gary Hart gave new meaning to the old expression, walk softly and carry a big stick. I'll tell you one thing, you'll never catch me fooling around. Jesse Jackson, handsome, well-dressed man, magnetic speaker. Now, Jesse, if we could just put you in whiteface, you'd be a cinch. Dukakis, where'd he get that name, out the bottom of an eye chart? Dukakis, what a name for president. I mean, where are the Washingtons and the Jeffersons and the Johnsons? Well, they're playing basketball, most of them. I think it's time we started looking for someone else to lead us, a man who will conduct his campaign in a decent, honorable way, with little hoopla.
Hawai'i, una hele mako, o kawa akaulua mo olele, hae o hele ana, pea kia kahi, hai ka makani, mo olele, hae o hele ana, pea kia kahi, hai ka makani. Kawa'a o nā kūpuna, I ka imi aina ho, makahiki mai. O lako no ka I ke muau ke ia aina nani, na moku o mai nei, a o maui no ka oe.